Is it working? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City Council meeting for this day. We're going to begin with the presentation of certificates for the Citizens Academy. City Manager, could you run through the curriculum real quick of what all these folks went through over the last 7 weeks, right? 7 weeks?
Yes, it was the last 7 weeks. They've got a good tour of a lot of our facilities. They've seen everything from parks and recreation. They learned a lot about our history with the Palm Coast Historical Society. They visited, the ever popular wastewater facility. Who doesn't love that, right? And we saw stormwater in action. We've also been here at City Hall. They had a lot of questions for community development, about building and code enforcement. So they've had a good journey along the way, and we are proud to see them graduate.
Okay, what's our total number?
25.
Oh, great number. Most of you guys weren't, when I spoke at the beginning, you weren't there. There was a mix-up in where you were supposed to be, but because I was sitting there saying, I'm like, this is a lot of people. I don't remember this many people being there, but I appreciate you going through, and I hope you learned something. And who played the mayor in the mock city council meeting? Okay, there she is, your future mayor. Okay, so the city manager and I will come down and we'll present the certificates.
I'm going to pass the baton to Shannon because Shannon has led the group. Okay. So she's going to help you, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, it's that time. You look great. I'm going to read your names up, and then we're going to give you their certificate, and then if you could just stand up here, and we'll take a photo at the end, okay? All right. Antonio Amaral. Dennis Bowman. Jenny Bowman.
No, that's 25.
Okay, sorry. Asledin Confitiero. Sorry if I say that wrong. Sorry. It's a hard one. I know, I'm sorry. Belkis Esquivel. Diane Hardos. John Hardos. Christy Heimbrock. Kathleen Hoffer. Bill Eslidik. Slidik? Islidik? Sorry. Oh, yeah, you should. I would. Annie Kim. Nico Lau. Kelsey Lombard. Ronald Long. Catherine Saris. Angeline Menz. John Menz. Menz, sorry. Linda McCain. Robert McCain. Shannon McCurdy. Love that name. It's a great name. Mary Jo St. Laurent Dean. Mm-hmm. That confused a couple of people at Public Works. That confused some people at Public Works. Jude Steele. And Darlene Suchecki. I think we're going to have get a little bit closer, guys.
We might need 2 rows.
Yeah, maybe 2 rows. Shortest in back. No, tallest in back.
If you would like to display your name in the
Close interval.
You can now. Open up your shirts and let's see those. Whoa, no.
Wait a minute.
All right, we're going to try. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right. And we got it. Congratulations, guys.
Okay, who was considered the leader of the group? Who was the big man or the big woman?
Gosh.
Go on.
Who? Shannon? Who was considered a leader? Yeah. Okay, listen up, Citizens Academy graduates. If one of you would like to step up to the podium and give a perspective on what you can expect in the Citizens Academy, I'd appreciate it. So you let the community know. Look at her, a born leader. Born leader.
Do you want to come on this side so you can address your peers? Okay. There you go.
Hi, my name is Angie, and I played the mayor on our little roll call or mock council meeting. And what I really learned a lot about the city. I've been here for 20 years today, and it was just real interesting to go through every department and learn with what our peers do out there. And I want to thank Lauren for allowing the staff to be out there to train us, because it's taking time out of their day to teach us. And also all the council members for allowing this to happen. And my favorite part was at the fire station yesterday when Chief Behrman was giving us a tour, and they actually had a call. And when those sirens went out, I had chills up and down my body at just how quick they were motivated. And I've been a director for HR for many years, and they work very well together. All our different areas. So if you have friends, neighbors, anyone in the community, I suggest. And Shannon did an excellent job in setting everything up.
Thank everyone that participated. And as Councilman Sullivan said, you have to stay through the entire city council meeting. So we will kick off the city council meeting at 6 p.m. So if you wish to sit around and hang out and watch what goes down in city council, you're more than welcome to. So take a break in place, and congratulations.
Councilman Gambaro, can you hear us? Should I reset the capture card?
What's up?
Should I reset the capture card? This one?
Testing, testing.
It sounded like the mics all came back up, right? The mics came back up in the room?
I think so.
Audio test, 1, 2, 3.
It's all set properly there.
Councilman Gambaro, can you hear us?
It's literally all set properly. Like, I don't get why.
He just said, where do we stand? So I guess he hasn't heard anything yet.
Gambaro, can you hear us? Test, test, test.
No, it's not picking it up. I love when that happens. This is what he normally was set to.
Councilman Gambaro, can you hear us?
Nothing coming off of the other one, the chair or whatever.
This one here?
Councilman Gambaro, are you able to hear us?
No. Let me, hold on.
Test, test, test. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Test, test, test.
Yeah, it's not picking it up at all, not even in Teams.
Test, test. Test, test, test.
Doug, this is Charlie Gambaro, Commo check, over.
Test, test, test. Councilman, are you able to hear us?
I can't hear myself either on Teams. You can give the computer a restart. Spin up. I tried both. I set both the defaults. Both of them weren't working. I set both. I tried both of those.
All the inputs.
Test, test, test. Test, test, test.
Let me go grab some. One second.
Test, test, test.
Nope, still can't hear you.
Test, test.
Nope.
Councilman Gambaro, can you hear us?
This is Charlie Gambaro, commo check, over. I cannot hear you.
Charlie, can you hear me?
Testing 1 2 3 test.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Palm Coast City Council business meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. It is 6 p.m. We are in the John Netz Community Wing of City Hall. I call this meeting to order. If you have any devices, please silence them at this time and stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short moment of silence. Please be seated. Ms. Cook, if you could call roll, please.
Mayor Norris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pontieri.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Gambaro.
Here.
Yay, we got him. We'll begin our tonight's proceedings with public participation. We'll allot 30 minutes for the opening public participation. If the item is on the agenda, please refrain. You will have time to comment when that item comes up for discussion. So with that, no derogatory or vulgar language if you can help it. And with that, we'll start with a 30-minute time limit. Anyone with public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Jeannie Duarte. Over a month ago, I requested 20 years of water quality reports from the city. Much of the data is missing. I asked Pete Rossell about the missing data concerning Forever Chemicals. He stated those are separate reports. I've only received 3 reports so far. I was told that the other records are on a secured site that he turned over to an admin. When I asked for the admin's name and contact information, I received no response. Meanwhile, my tap water is running slippery and yellow. As many others have said before me, Palm Coast Utilities needs a full forensic audit. And we must be focusing on our city's assets, not just appealing developers and their properties. Our railroad, Interstate 95, and the beach. Interstate visibility of restaurants and gas stations would bring much needed stop-and-go revenue, not more houses. A north interstate access road to the beach with lodging should be considered. And a luxury rail line with commute, dining, and overnight amenities would boost the future of the economy of Palm Coast. But nothing will survive or save Palm Coast if we're using toilet to tap. Last night's Charter Review Committee meeting had only 4 residents attending. Once again, with 2 appointed seats on our city council, I request that we table till after the next election for the 2028 as outlined in the charter. And let's see. And this city hall would make a great community center with all the surrounding cleared lots, ample parking, and established lighting. They would make great practice fields, and it would be an easy conversion. Let's focus on strengthening what we have already before we expand any further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Miss Chantel.
Hi, Chantal Preninger. We went last week to Maryland, and we stayed at a place with friends, and they have water from a well on the property, and they have the wastewater with, what do you call it? Anyway, they were completely off the grid because they were not in the city. And before we moved from Maryland to Florida, we had in our street a family that had electricity, solar electricity, completely off the grid as well. And my question to you is, can we have that here? Could we dig our own well, have the wastewater like they do in Maryland, completely off the city
And if we can't, why? Are there restrictions at the level of the city, the county, or the states? Can somebody answer? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, sir. Mr. Stone.
Bruce Stone, Sesame Street. I keep on going back to the same thing, and I'll keep on going back continuously. There's a couple of items that people are really struggling and crying, begging for assistance. And one of the products is your water department. For 6 years, the water department did nothing but raise the rates. That's all. Particularly the single income person who doesn't have a husband anymore or doesn't have a wife, they can't afford it. So while I see this city continuously going for funding this, funding that, funding this, why don't you just get funding for the people that can't afford it? It's that simple. It's really very simple. And the better question, on March 8th, Mayor Noyes, you questioned Cody back there, grilling him why we the second highest in the state in our water rates. He didn't have an answer. He was looking to help from the guy that left. I forget his name, but the two guys that left. Also, traffic has still got the same problem. You hit 100 in Sesame Woods, you can sit for 5 minutes for just the lights to change. It's getting out of hand, it's getting worse. And yesterday, someone put a comment out to stop the building in this damn city. You got ICI now wanting permission to build more homes. You come down 100, or you come down Sesame Woods, there's empty lots. Nothing's built. It's been that way for months. And then the streets flood when we get heavy rain. So Mayor Norris had the right idea when his first request to stop the building. Other cities have done it. Care about the people and go back to the vote of having another moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, sir. If it's concerning commercial vehicles, sir, you'll have to wait. Okay, yes, sir.
Good evening, Bob Milligan. When I made the decision to speak this evening, it was before I read the Flagler Live article about Palm Coast Holdings and the utility problems in the city. My concern is also related to utility service. In 2005, to satisfy the off-site infrastructure requirements for Town Center, the city adopted a resolution creating Old Kings Road Special Assessment District. The responsibilities of the city and the landowners are clearly defined in a 2013 funding agreement. The landowners agreed to prepay estimated impact fees for vacant land in exchange for the city's promise to provide infrastructure and issue development permits for properties within the district. In the past 12 years, landowners in the district prepaid millions of dollars to the city for impact fees on vacant land. In the same 12-year period, the city clearly failed to meet their obligation to provide the required infrastructure. In simple terms, the landowners advanced the money to the city, prepaying infrastructure so they could develop their properties. The owners of the properties within the district have become increasingly frustrated with the city's failure to meet the contractual obligations and construct the improvements. It's now become a major problem. A master site plan has been approved for property within the district. The property owner reasonably relied on the 2013 agreement when investing millions of dollars during a multi-year process to permit the development. Potable water is not available for the development. City staff has been aware of this issue for years and has failed to recognize the consequence to the city and to the citizens if water is not available at time of development. Now, staff may disagree with my assessment, but the end result is multiple solutions have been submitted by the landowners to resolve the problem. No alternate solution had been proposed by city staff. The city's failure to provide the required infrastructure unfairly burdens the property, creating a financial hardship for the owner. Now, ultimately, this issue will require city council consideration. I urge you to consider the history of this issue, including the contractual obligations of all the parties. This is a problem that can and should be resolved before it expands into litigation. A document summarizing a lot of the problems have been given to the clerk for your consideration. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Do you have any follow-up, City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just ask that our utility team in the audience today, Mr. Roche or Mr. Roussel, please speak with Ms. Duarte and Ms. Chantel Prunger about their comments specifically related to the utility. And then as far as the Old Kings Road Special Assessment District and Utilities Agreement, Mr. Duffy is working on that, and we hope to have an answer back to that group by next week.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything from the council? Nothing? Okay. We're moving on to item F, minutes. We have minutes to approve the October 21st business meeting and the October 28th workshop meeting. Anyone have any amendments or changes or anything to go for the minutes?
I do, Mayor. On the business meeting, there were two items. So this is for the October 21st, 2025 business meeting. The first is on page 5. At the bottom, under item 8, it says Attorney Duffy called for any ex-parte communications regarding the zoning map amendment, and it says there were none. I had initially said no, and then I corrected the record and said I did have an ex-parte communication, but it would not affect my decision-making, so we just need to reflect that, please. And then on page 8, under the consent, it says City Council held discussion on items 19 and 22. Vice Mayor Pontieri asked for consensus to tighten parameters for next year. I just want to clarify that that was tightening parameters for number 22. That was the grant FC3 contract. So we just need to clarify that it was only for number 22, not for numbers 19 and 22. Thank you, Mayor.
That's it? You got those changes? Does anyone have any issue with the changes that?
No issues. Move to we amend the minutes as
stated. Okay. All right. Any issues? Councilman Gambaro, you got us?
No, Mr. Mayor, no issues. Thank you.
Can we get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve with the amendments.
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? You good, Ms. Cook?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. We're moving on to item G, ordinances of the second read. The first one, at number 3, is amending Chapter 50, Waterways, Section 50-31, definitions, and creating a new Section 50-33, anchoring. Good evening, Ms. Grossman.
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. Do we have any other information from you, or are we good to go?
We're good to go, Mayor. There are no changes in the ordinance because there was no direction from the council on this item.
Okay, and this ordinance is to keep people from squatting in our waterways, and it does not prevent safe harbor during storms or national emergencies.
That's correct.
Sounds like a plan to me. Can we get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
The ordinance.
Got a second. Further discussion? No further discussion. Ms. Cook, please. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll open it up for public comment real quick. Anyone have any public comment concerning anchoring in our canals? No one come forward. We'll bring it back to the dais. Ms. Cook, call the vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. We're moving on to number 4, ordinance 2025, Chapter 44, Traffic Vehicle, Article 2, Stopping, Standing, Parking, by amending sections 40-34C, parking and storage of vehicles generally of the city code of ordinances. Anything further from you, Ms. Grossman?
We made the recommended changes that you requested at your 10/21 meeting, Mayor and City Council, and they are in the red line version of your agenda packet.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Grossman, the one question I have is what methodology was used to come up with the length and height of the vehicles that will be allowed?
I can answer that. So that was working with code staff. We just looked at other ordinances and see how they had it, and we applied it to ours. So that was a draft of reviewing and researching other city ordinances that had similar rules regarding the height and length.
Okay. The reason I brought that up was I had a discussion with Mr. Duffy on Monday. Was that Monday? Monday. With 18 feet on the length of the vehicles, that technically eliminates pretty much a standard F-150 from being parked in a driveway with advertising on it. It would eliminate, which we don't use any advertising on our vehicles. My wife has an Expedition Max. It would not allow that because her Expedition is 19 feet. A Ford Transit, a 2021 Ford Transit, is 19 feet, a little over 19 feet. So pretty much that length would restrict a whole lot of vehicles, to include your Jeep, Vice Mayor. When I walked outside earlier, I looked at your truck, and yours is about the same length. So I would like for someone, if we could, to amend it to 20 feet. I have a problem with the height, too. I think the height's a bit much. When you think about 10 feet, that's a basketball goal, right? 10 feet is a basketball goal? Mm-hmm. And I used one of my paint extensions at my house, and I measured out 10 feet. And I have a standard garage, and that went a foot and a half above my roof line on my standard garage. But I'm perfectly fine leaving the 10 feet as the height. But the length, I think we do. And we, as Mr. Duffy stated to me, we can. That's a minor change. If we could change it, because, standard truck, and I think I looked it up.
In terms of what you're talking about, a dual cab with a long bed on it is going to be 21 feet or something to that effect. So
it's going to be eliminated. Yeah. But like a standard pickup truck, like mine's a crew cab, not the big crew cab.
Mm-hmm.
And across the way, my neighbors, they have a Transit, and then her husband has a Transit that was a company truck. They both are the same dimensions, but 20 feet. Yeah, so I think it should be 20 feet if I could get consensus. I want to get this over the finish line.
What's it currently? 18? Is that?
18.
I have no problem with extending that to 20.
What about you, Vice Mayor? Do you have any issues with that?
No, I don't have any issues with that. I guess I'm just, I'm looking at that in addition to, I agree with you that 10 feet is pretty high, because then we also say in section 1A that we can put attachments to not exceed even more height, and items hanging off of the vehicle to extend even more length. So we're getting to a point, I think, where something that we may have been trying to avoid. So I just want to make sure this isn't getting away from us. Do we know, what's the standard? Now that you say that about the garage, it does make sense. Do we maybe want to lower it to 8 feet?
Well, when I discussed that with Mr. Duffy, if we change that, we're going to have to go through another read.
The idea behind that, you're making it more restrictive. So with the mayor, when he made his comments, you're making it more allowable. So that seems like a minor change. Where you're restricting it, that's different.
I want to get it over the finish line, and I'm, if we want to come back and do another read, but I think, 10 feet, I could actually have someone go out and get my paint pole out of the back of my truck. I brought it just to show an example, but 10 feet is a standard roof line. It's like a foot and a half above, and my house is a standard.
Well, is there any specific vehicles that would be 10 feet that we're trying to exclude? That's I guess, the question. Right?
I'm just thinking, I'm 6'2", and if I put my hand up, that's 8 feet. Yeah. So that's higher than most pickup trucks, plus a couple of ladders on it.
Well, I don't have I understand wanting to get it across the finish line. I don't have an issue making sure we get it right. So if we want to extend to 20 feet but lower to 8 feet, I think I'd probably be more on board with that. One more read, it's not the end
Yeah,
of the world.
I personally would go with 9 feet. That was pretty much at my roof line. 9 feet is more reasonable. The 10, or 8.5 feet maybe. But if we want to do another read, make those two changes and do another read. Could we get it on the next agenda for our next business meeting, City Manager?
That's the 18th, right?
Yes. We have not published that agenda yet.
So would you want to go with 8.5 feet and 20 feet?
I don't care. Whether it's 8.5 feet or 9 feet is inconsequential to me. I think that your point's well taken, though. 10 feet out of roof line can get excessive, plus you're stacking things on top of it.
And I'm going to vote no now, and I'm going to vote
we
no
know where
then.
you're at.
So there's no point in asking me.
Okay, can we come to a consensus of 9 feet in height, 20 feet in length? Are we good to go? Are we good with that?
I'm good with that.
The 3 people that were on board to begin with. What about you, Councilman Gambaro? You have any comments?
Yeah, I'm a no on the change of this ordinance. So whatever you guys want to do.
Okay, so that's the guidance, Mr. Duffy.
So I think we need a motion to table or further continue the item, correct, Marcus?
Motion to continue the item till the next business meeting at November 18th with the suggested changes is what I would need.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Second.
we got a second. Any further discussion of the council? We have none. We'll open this up for public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Chantal Proninger, how is the city going to enforce the height of those pickup trucks? Are they going to come with a measuring stick or something? Yeah? That's going to be interesting. And if you have a size that you agree on for pickups, could that apply also for box trailers using the same size? Let's say the box trailer has no writing, no advertisement on it. Could it fit under the same category? Because I have a neighbor who has a box trailer, and that would be nice.
This ordinance isn't about trailers. It's about vehicles.
It's just for the pickups?
It's just work vehicles, not trailers.
Okay. Even if it's the same size?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
My remarks are not meant to impugn any member of council or staff. A growing concern among citizens is your plan to allow commercial vehicle parking in residential areas. Concessions lead to larger demands and complications. Give them an inch, and they'll take a mile, and this has already begun. Quality of life disruption. Residents are reporting increased noise, visual clutter, and a loss of neighborhood character. Trucks and vans parked overnight create an industrial feel in spaces meant for families and communities. Safety and traffic hazards. Oversized vehicles obstruct visibility, especially near driveways and intersections. This raises the risk of accidents involving children and pedestrians. Property value and community tension. The presence of parked commercial vehicles will lower property values and spark disputes amongst neighbors. Environmental and noise issues. Rain washes oil, gasoline, and other pollutants from parked vehicles into storm drains. Other adverse factors: vehicle movement, engine noise, and maintenance. Enforcement challenges. Difficult due to inconsistent reinforcement. The following area cities do not allow commercial parking in residential areas: Ormond Beach, Deltona, Daytona Beach, Holly Hill, Edgewater, and New Smyrna Beach. Creating a city is complex, I know it well. Making it a mess is easy. The parking proposal subsidizes vendors at citizen expense. Who will subsidize citizen expenses for almost all rising city services? If you plan to vote yes, still vote yes, I urge you to realize that you are increasing the probability of tragic loss of life, principally children and pets. Thank you. I cannot stay for your discussion due to a problem at home, so please don't consider me rude. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no, yes, Mr. Amaral.
Tony Amaral, Palm Coast. Since we're going to be going through this and tabling it, maybe I just was going through that section 2 where it says amendment to chapter 44, and we have subsection C. About a third of the way down, it says, it is prohibited and unlawful to park or store a commercial vehicle anywhere in city limits as posted per Florida Statute 316/1945 at any time unless at a residence for a residential service call. So we might want to just clean that up so that if it passes where we do it, and not to mention we do allow commercial vehicles to be parked in storage facilities that are in part on city property, inside the city. So if we're going to be cleaning it up, that's just one thing I saw that we might want to touch on also.
Thank you. This is, anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. That is, what we're doing is an exception to the ordinance, right? That's written, that's what it is. It's an exception to that, Mr. Amaral. We're down further, you'll see it says exceptions. Yeah. Okay. Okay. If we can clean it up, Marcus, if there's something that needs to be done there. I will say this, coming back, I commissioned a survey. So some people within the city may have received a survey concerning this matter. We sent out, we polled 986 voters within the city. We had 361 that responded to the survey, which is a good sample group of the community. I really wanted it to be an 80-20 issue because it's easier that way. It's not an 80-20 issue, but it's a 64.8 to 34.1% issue. So 64.8% of the population that voted, of that 361 people, they said yes. 34.1% said no. 1.1 was undecided. So it's not an 80-40 issue, but a large portion of the community wants that ordinance changed, if that helps anyone's mindset on the issue. Anything else from the council?
I did have a question in regards to the way this is written. It doesn't restrict the parking to the driveway, right?
Yes.
It does? So the swale parking is not allowed
No, sir.
for commercial vehicles
No, sir.
based on this exception?
This is only
One vehicle per house.
per driveway, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure, if there's concerns about, oversized vehicles being in the swale causing potential accidents, if it's restricting it to the driveway, then that's not a concern.
That's not part of it. And I will say that because I worked for DOT, Commercial Motor Vehicle Enforcement, for you, Ms. Chantel, they sell measuring sticks. So say one of the code enforcement people could get out of their truck with a measuring stick, walk up, fold out the arm, and measure the height of the vehicle. The same way with a roll measurer, they just roll right down the side of the vehicle and measure it. If it's it's outside the bounds of the ordinance, they can be cited. And brought the code board and had their vehicle removed from that parking. So that's the easiest way to do it. You on that, Ms. Grossman? Got it? Anything
Mr.
else?
Mayor?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so on your survey, I'm just curious, what was the margin of error on that survey?
I don't have it, but I can get it for you.
Okay, thank you.
It was a one-question survey, and it's on. Some people have posted it online. It went out. So
Yeah, but all surveys have a margin of error, so is it 3%, 5%, or is it 20%? It matters, so. But no, I think it's good input, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
yes, sir. Any other issues? You got your guidance, Marcus?
I do have one thing, Mayor, and I had already spoken to Mr. Duffy about this. Under Section 1A, where the track changes are, we just need to change some ors to ands. I think that properly reflects the intent. So it says there cannot be an excess height from the highest point of the vehicle by more than 2 feet and does not exceed the length of the vehicle by more than 2 feet, and does not exceed the width by more than 1 foot. Those are orders right now. I think they're supposed to be ands pursuant to our direction. So just want to be very clear about that prior to it coming back.
You good, Mr. Duffy?
Sir.
Okay, thank you. We are moving on.
Well, hold on a second, Mr. Mayor. Didn't we have a motion to table?
Yeah, we're tabling it.
You still got to.
Oh, we got a vote. I'm sorry. Ms. Cook called a vote?
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
No.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
No.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay, thank you. We've tabled it until the 18th. We'll reread it again. Okay, we're moving on to item 5, ordinance 2025, voluntary annexation, approximately 38.811 acres of property owned by Flagler Pines Properties, LLC. City Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. The next 3 items go together. Staff is here. We are at ordinance second reading, and Marcus, the first one is a quasi-judicial item, correct?
Actually, I researched today, and this is not considered a quasi-judicial because annexation affects the entire boundaries of the city, whereas zoning would actually affect the quasi-judicial part.
So the last item. Thank you, Marcus.
So number 7, we will have to do quasi. Got it? We good? Okay, Mr. Papa?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is the second reading of the voluntary annexation. Unless you have questions for staff, we are here. Otherwise, if you have any questions other than that, we don't have a presentation. We can go back to the previous presentation.
Okay, does anyone on the council have any issues, any concerns?
My concern remains, and I know that these are 3 separate issues as far as annexation, zoning, and flume. As I've previously stated, however, we have the most discretion as council at the annexation phase. My concern is annexing this property not being in the best interest of the community based on the traffic issues it could cause if there's not, before site plan, either proper measures taken to accommodate before the traffic gets even worse than it is, to accommodate this development, or we retain the plan limits that are currently in place for this property as it sits in the county, as far as traffic counts go. So last time we discussed these 3 issues, Mr. Livingston, we talked about some concessions that maybe could be made as a part of this annexation, zoning, and flume amendment, and I'm curious as to whether or not we got anywhere on those. Particularly, I was looking at, and maybe you can answer these questions for me, Mr. Papa. I was looking at the total acreage for this this whole area. So the whole area was 89 acres. I believe this portion is 38. Previously, what we already have built out is 36. That still leaves about 15 acres, and we're already over the traffic counts with this, without that additional 15 acres. For the whole piece, we're already over. So I have some grave concerns still on the traffic issues that will be caused by this. We already know we're going to drop a level of service. My first question is, are those other 15 acres buildable, or are we talking about 15 acres of wetlands? I think that matters. And then question number 2, have we gotten anywhere with the applicant on the traffic concerns?
The remaining 15 acres, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. The remaining 15 acres, I believe, are what's south of Airport Commons 1. It would be this area here is the remaining vacant area. It's actually, to be more precise, it would go somewhere like this.
Do we know what that's zoned right now?
My guess, yes, it would be industrial at this point. Yes, ma'am. Flagler County zone. Airport Commons 2 site was not part of that traffic.
So that would add to traffic then,
I'm sorry?
presumably. That would add to traffic as well.
if it was developed, I'm not sure if it's, I would really have to look into, see if it might have been part of, I believe that there might be a stormwater pond back there already to serve Airport Commons 1, but I cannot tell you for certain that that's the case.
Okay. Thank you. And have we gotten anywhere on the traffic discussion?
Yeah, I'll let the applicant address that. We spoke at length about the impact and how we're going to resolve it. I think we have our regulations has processes in order to take it there. We have at this stage of in the process is that we're looking at annexation, and I think part of the willingness of the property owners to come in to annex into the city, that basically in essence they want to comply with the city's regulations. And then the next step we will take it would be at Flume and then rezoning. At this time we already have a site plan, so we know the proposed development that's going to bring forward for the city. And I think this, besides development of regional impacts, this is like a project that has the most intense commercial development in terms of square feet, and I think that would advance City Council's diversification of tax base. So we also, part of the technical site plan, we have a concurrency management system in place in order to handle that per statute. So.
Yeah, I understand all that. And so I'm torn because I see the need to increase our commercial, and obviously we want the impact fees. But we can't plan this way. This is not how you plan. You don't have planning policies that limit traffic, that limit density, that limit our resources, or I guess our strain on resources, and then just continue to annex in, continue to increase things. We're talking about 25,000 more trips. This is not a small adjustment. This is not how you plan. So I understand where we are normally when we are at the annexation phase versus the site plan phase versus zoning flume. I get all of that. My issue is that if we have somebody, this developer or another, coming to the city and saying, hey, city, we would like you to take us in, why are there not concessions or discussions or other conditions on annexation that will help the city and the residents feel better about the planning due to what this will do to US, well, in this case, to 100, but whatever it is, whatever resource we're going to create a strain on. In this case, it's traffic and roads. There was a planning policy that limited traffic in this area for a reason. I know that some of it doesn't absolutely apply because it was a different zoning. It was ag when it was in the county, so obviously you're going to have lower traffic counts. But when we decided to lay out certain things, when FDOT is looking at county and city plans, I would assume they take these things into consideration. We up here on this dais and our staff have to properly plan for the quality of life for our residents. This is not how you do it. So I get the processes. I am asking, and I've been asking from this seat, and I'm a no right now because I've been asking. I get we're only at the annexation right now. We've got a zoning and a flume vote to be had and presentation to make. But what have the discussions been, and have we gotten anywhere? Mr. Livingston, you're welcome to respond to that if you'd like.
I had a question along the same lines, because I basically agree with what you're saying, but specifically, we discussed the problem of having a parallel road to 100 that would connect into Seminole Woods and all the way over and back of Airport Commons. Now, I would say BJ's, which is there now, you don't see it on this graphic, does have that parallel road built as part of their design right now. So is there any way we can make that, like you're saying, in planning, say you have to put in at least for the part that we're annexing in, that they have to have a connector road to that road that BJ's put in. I know we still have the problem with the racetrack gas station over on Seminole at the corner there, because all I'm saying is, one way or another, when BJ's was put in, they did put that road in, and so they've already started the process. And I do think, Vice Mayor, that that's a critical factor. If you had that parallel road that went all the way from the airport road all the way over to Seminole Woods, that would provide some alleviation of...
Well, it would, but as I understand it, that's an impossibility right now.
Well, it's not an impossibility. They just have to... That annexation that he's talking about, we'd annex some property in back of the racetrack there. So is there any way we can put that in, whatever we're agreeing to, can some of that be put in there or not?
I want to find a way to make it happen. You know, I'm with you. If there's a solution to be had, then let's make it happen. I just don't know what that looks like.
Another thing I think I mentioned, and I had talked to Fong about it, in terms of, these turn lanes that we have proposed in the proposed site plan, is connecting those, and based on the feedback from Fong, that DOT would typically want that to not be turn lanes, so to speak, but be a through lane, but it can act as both. I think that gives us more capacity as well. It basically gives us 3 lanes on the frontage of that whole stretch in front of your property, as well as hopefully we could get that connected all the way through past BJ's, so that whole lane is another lane, so a third lane of capacity there in front of these properties. So to me, that's something that I think would help as well, because we're talking about these parallels, but potentially we can't connect them through until we figure out some property issues with that other property. But that's something that I think is a possibility as well, to alleviate some of the stresses on that road.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, last time City Council also asked me to bring back the estimate of transportation impact fees for this project. We calculated approximately about $7.4 million just in transportation impact fees alone.
And when do we get those? When are those paid?
At development, at permit, building permit.
What do you have, Mr. Lee?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Voice from the sky.
Councilman Guerrero, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Listen, I think my fellow council members bring up a lot of great points, but just from a strategic perspective, right? Because I have done a lot of planning in my life, right? And so this is an opportunity, like Fong said, to actually diversify the tax base, not just talk about it. And I think Mr. Livingston heard us at our last meeting when we reviewed this issue, and had even laid out the renditions prior to annexation to help address the concerns. Also, Councilman Miller just talked about kind of the lanes and continuing along what we did with BJ's. But City Manager, did we collect impact fees on BJ's before we annexed, or who reaped the benefits of impact fees? Because I know this council is very, very focused on collecting the impact fees. So who actually benefited from those impact fees for BJ's?
Yeah, I can address that, Councilman Guerrero.
Yeah.
We are collecting impact fees from the 5 out parcels. The collection of the BJ's was collected by the county, but they have agreed to basically provide that back to the city. So it's approximately about $400,000 in impact fees.
Okay, and I guess my only concern here is, well, I've got several concerns, but this council has also been very focused on being fair and consistent across the board. Are we treating this opportunity differently than what we treated BJ's? I mean, I don't know. Are we? And so I just want to make sure we take a look at that. But again, this is not just talking about diversifying the tax base. This is actually doing it. And I agree with you that the traffic concerns have to be addressed. And we have an initial, I think, technical site plan to address those items. And I think we as a council get more bites at the apple before this project goes final. So I would just offer that up for the council to consider. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Livingston, what do you have, sir?
Yes, sir. Jay Livingston here on behalf of the applicant. I want to address one thing about the planning that the Vice Mayor mentioned. I handed out, it's an excerpt from an ORC report, and then it's minutes from a county commission meeting, because I want to make sure that there is no misunderstanding about any planning that was done when this trip cap was put in place at the county. This is not based upon any kind of planning exercise. What happened was the Department of Community Affairs received an large-scale future land use map amendment and rejected the traffic, as I put in the highlighted section on the first. This is a pretty big package, so I just gave you the highlights, but they rejected the traffic study because it was not professionally acceptable due to reasons listed below in the amendment. Essentially, the methodologies were not accepted by the DCA. When it went to the county commission, instead of the applicant at the time getting a new traffic study to demonstrate what the traffic was actually going to be based upon acceptable methodologies, they just chose to freeze the traffic based upon the existing land use. So the map was changed, but the traffic was not. It was just kept under its previous thing. It was a decision made by the applicant to essentially not spend any more money on traffic engineering. It wasn't because of any kind of methodical planning exercise that they went through. It's essentially an arbitrary number based upon pre-existing land use. So I don't think we should consider that to be based upon any good planning. The good planning would have been based upon a traffic study that was accepted by the DCA and then negotiations from there. But instead, they wanted to get their land use change done, and they just froze the trip generation based upon ag and commercial that was pre-existing to the change. So I think it's a disservice to people that actually do good planning to consider that to be planning, because good planning requires good data, not unacceptable data, and then determining what those impacts are going to be and how you're going to mitigate them, including identifying improvements, which was one of the objections that the DOT had in that ORC report through the DCA, was that they didn't identify any improvements in order to address the traffic. The developer who applied for that application didn't want to apparently deal with those improvements, didn't want to enter into prop share or contribute to the impact, so they froze the traffic. I wouldn't consider that to be good planning. Another thing I want to make sure there's no misunderstanding on is that even though this is statutorily a voluntary annexation, we are mandated to annex into the city if we want water, unless you guys want to undo your settlement with the county and Flagler Beach that made this a mandatory annexation zone. So unlike BJ's, to answer Councilman Gambaro's question, we're not being treated differently than BJ's. We are choosing to move differently than BJ's, as opposed to developing in the county, paying the county's impact fee, even though the county's agreed to share the impact fee with the city for 100 improvements. The impact fee in the county is much different than what it will be in the city. It's not going to be that $7 million. We've chosen to come in first and then develop, following the city's rules, paying the city's fees. Annexation is a necessary step to get us there. So,
just a clarification, Jay, we only received transportation impact fees for the BJ's parcel from the county. We did not receive fire.
Right. So there's additional impact fees that they did not pay to the city that you would receive because of the annexation. So I just want to make sure that we're clear about that, because when we originally approached staff about this, there was a decision that was made probably about a year ago not to go through the rigmarole of a pre-annexation agreement, because all these things would have been fleshed out, because we just wanted to annex in, get our zoning, get our flume, and then start with the site planning process. I understand the concern about traffic. We talked about this the last meeting, but I think we need to be careful to not be hung up on 676,000 square feet of commercial that is the maximum development potential for the zoning, or that's going to be built immediately, even if this property could be built to that level. When you take into account open space, parking, stormwater, all the other development constraints, even if it could be built at that level, it's not going to happen immediately. It takes time to get different components of the project developed. But more importantly, to your point about dropping a level of service, you can't do that. I mean, level of service D is your floor. If we're dropping to F, then we don't have concurrency, and you guys can deny the development order, or you can condition the development order on us addressing those traffic concerns through a prop share agreement. That's Chapter 7 of your Land Development Code. That's the concurrency management system. So annexing the property in, letting us apply for our site plans, when we get to the point where we're tripping your level of service, the city, whether it's a staff level approval or a city council approval, which most of these, the big developments, as shown on the site plan, will be Tier 3 city council approval, you can deny the development order or condition the development order on traffic mitigation being addressed. Whether it's through approaching and negotiating with the DOT to do a better turn lane plan, or it's contributing towards the ultimate 6-laning plan that's part of your 2030 scheduled improvements in your transportation element of your 2050 comprehensive plan. That's all, everything's in place for us to plan for that. I also want you to understand, I ran the numbers based upon the trip generation. If let's just say, okay, we know we have a traffic concern, so we can't build out the project in the short term. If we just built the big box, the biggest box, right, which is the first development that's likely to occur, that, based upon the trip generation of the traffic study, would result in a reduction of daily trips of 2,327 trips, a reduction of AM trips of 121, and a reduction of trips of 183, meaning we're actually going down to what we currently have. And then as we get closer to either a baseline, a zeroing those out, or an increase, and we have a concurrency problem, you can shut development down until the capacity becomes available on the roadway. And the reason I mentioned that is to understand that we're not going to build 676,000 square feet all at once. We're not even going to build that probably ever, because it wouldn't fit on the site unless you went up high, which we can't do because of the adjacency to the airport. We're constrained there as well. But more importantly, this is future land use planning. So just like this is bad planning, because what happened here is that the development potential for this property was capped. So when the DOT and the county and the city were looking at potential trips that are going to be generated on 100 in the short term, in the terms of your future land use development plan, whether it was 2015 or 2035 or 2050 now, they were not accounting for the potential for this development in terms of planning for State Road 100. And that's an important concept in future land use planning, because if we are entitled for 676,000 square feet of commercial, even though we probably can't fit that on there, and they do 6-lane 100, which is going to happen, suddenly you can build that there without creating traffic problems, right? So if you cap it now, all you're doing is pushing commercial development out and creating commercial sprawl, and you're creating traffic problems in other places. So there are unintended consequences to restricting development from a future land use perspective. In the immediate period where we're going to be doing a site plan, like I said, if we only do the big box, we're not going to be increasing traffic. We're actually going to be reducing traffic from the existing conditions on the county zoning. If we do what I call the anchor and the little box, it's an increase of 5 PM peak hour trips, a reduction of total trips, and a reduction of AM peak hour trips by 286 and 75 for the two. So again, you could, and that would allow the economic development to occur, the job creation to occur, whereas where you can still utilize your concurrency management system to prevent overdevelopment before the capacity is in place for the roadway. So that's the benefit, in my perspective, of the annexation, is that it gives you all control. And you will have a very good system in place. You know, we were just talking about this when I was talking to staff about the concerns that we knew were going to be raised tonight. We are not all that familiar with Chapter 7 of the Land Development Code because we haven't run into very many concurrency problems up to this point. So now we're running into that problem. So I encourage you to read Chapter 7. There's a very methodical process for everything but transportation, and then transportation that allows you to, and I mean, I can just quote right from the section, so maybe I can find it on my screen. Section 70404A, the city shall not issue a final development order unless there is sufficient available capacity of public facilities to meet the established level of service. That goes to your dropping a level of service to F. So you can deny that development order. In the meantime, you have the property in the city. it's commercially entitled property. It already has a value. It's not going to be as valuable as when it's developed, but you're adding to the tax base while the development is being planned, the transportation improvements are being planned. So I see it as good planning as annexing this in, utilizing your concurrency management process, making sure the DOT is on board if it becomes necessary, because you're going to get a site-specific traffic impact analysis for the site plan, what those actual impacts are. If it does create a level of service problem, you can condition a development, you can deny a development order if you want to, or you can condition that on us going through the concurrency management process, identifying improvements that mitigate those traffic impacts, having that developer pay for those improvements, or build them, which would be the turn lanes or maybe a through lane by making it one big long lane, as Councilman Miller mentioned. So, but you only have that control and that power if you annex the property in and you subject it to your land development code and your comprehensive plan. So that's my perspective on it. I mean, no developer's excited about developments that have concurrency problems because of the prop share possibility. But on the same token, the developer's aware that they're going to be paying $7+ million in impact fees. It could be more than that too, because individual uses can generate massively higher impact fees in the commercial realm. But if those impact fees can, instead of going into a pot, can be immediately used to build and or spend on improvements that immediately benefit the community, the adjacent infrastructure that's supporting that development, that is good planning. And you guys have a very good code to that effect. Your concurrency, I've read Chapter 7 because I read the code because it's my job to do so, but we haven't had much concurrency problems. So studying the code in terms of, we may have a problem, we have to implement this in the near future to develop a portion of this property, you have all the controls in place that you need to ensure that a development does not happen without making sure those traffic impacts are improved. And the benefit of all of this is you just updated your comp plan and you specifically identified in section objective 2.143 of your 2050 comp plan, one of the 2030 roadway improvements includes 6 Landing 100 from Belle Terre to Old Kings Road. So that's a needed improvement identified in your comp plan that we understand now the DOT is focused on planning for. We know you all are focused on planning for it. We have developments that are creating those impacts, and now we can start actually implementing improvements to mitigate those traffic impacts. And we would get into the nitty-gritty of that. Like, okay, and today we're going to build the big box, 170,995 square feet of commercial, right? Generate jobs, increase the tax base. How can we mitigate traffic under the current conditions because we don't have the 6-lane plan fully designed or whatever the situation is? We get with staff, we get with DOT, we identify those improvements, and that becomes a developer's obligation if it's a condition that is imposed in order for the development to move forward, which you all will have direct control over for that particular development because of the size and the way that your land development code is structured. So that's my perspective on it in terms of how we're going to avoid the problems that you are rightfully concerned about. Looking at it from the perspective of 676,000 change of square feet and those raw trip generation factors that show 25,000 total increase in trips, 2,299 total PM peak hour trips. That's the maximum development potential with the zoning district we're requesting. So,
I have another piece of information I would like to provide to City Council. When you ask the BJ's development, how did they pay to the city? They pay based on the 5 parcels. They pay using the city's impact fees, but not the BJ's. So my calculation on the BJ's itself alone, we basically, if they came into the city, we would have collected an additional $1.8 million. So if this project develops in the county and then annexed into the city, we would not capture that $7.4 million in terms of impact fees. I just want to give you that information.
I have a question about the scenario of a development order for the big box solely, and then later the outlots being developed. Would those outlots actually come before council, given their square footage? Would we have the opportunity, as you say, to deny that development order based on their square footage? Or would that be an administrative review?
I believe administratively, staff would also have to deny it if there's a level of service concern, but I'll let staff speak to that. But you're right, depending on the tier, they wouldn't necessarily come to you.
Right. I think
Control, it doesn't say city council, it's the city shall not.
Right.
So it applies to administrative approvals as well as the council level approvals.
Right now, they want to basically bring the technical site plan of the entire development for council to approve.
Which would then give you control over monitoring all the impacts potentially created and coming up with a plan to mitigate for those through your Chapter 7 system.
Sorry. So if based on that site plan, we have concurrency issues, then we can propose mitigation factors that you would work with us on in order to reduce the impact there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I mean, based on Florida statute, they would have to mitigate for the impact.
Or wait until the road is expanded.
And I understand, there's a myriad of things to consider, right? Whether it's going through county first and then coming to us, and then we don't get those impact fees. There's a lot of things, but anecdotally, we know that it's already a problem there, right? When you drive down that road, so that's the concern, and can we go above and beyond? And I realize that you have other options monetarily, right? That could probably save you money if you wanted to go that route. But I feel like it's a win for both if we can go above and beyond and get this kind of in a situation to where, at a minimum, it's not getting worse than what it is today, driving down that road.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, I guess I understand what you're saying, Mr. Livingston, and I agree with you. Our Chapter 7 is strong, and we are going to have more concurrency issues from this point forward because we're full up. So it's going to start happening more, so everybody should probably brush up. And when I say everybody, I mean us up here, because I'm sure staff is very in tune with Chapter 7 and all the concurrency requirements. I think my concern, because you will not be the last annexation applicant that comes before us, my concern is not having pre-annexation agreements, is not having actual traffic studies at this stage. And I understand that those come with costs. Because by the time we do get to site plan and we're coming up with concurrency or permits are pulled and we have impact fees paid, that is not enough time to properly accommodate the traffic issues that will be caused likely when the development comes out of the ground, unless we're looking at 10 years down the road, which I don't see that happening. I agree with Councilman Gambaro that all of us are very focused on diversifying the tax base. I agree with that 100%. But we still need to do it the right way. It's like saying, well, we want more affordable housing. Okay, does that mean that tomorrow we approve 500 homes on Royal Palms for affordable housing purposes? No, it doesn't mean that. We still have to do it the right way. So I don't want to deny the annexation because of the positives that you're talking about, but I would be remiss if I didn't say I am not happy with the way this has happened, because I don't feel it's giving us a fair shot at properly planning for what is already a pain point. You talked about, well, if we just did the big box store itself, it would go down by 2,000 trips. But you're asking us to ignore what we're seeing and hearing and experiencing every day at the same time. Because to Councilman Miller's point, we're already experiencing a pain point. It doesn't really matter if you just do the big box store by itself, because when that big box store comes out of the ground, maybe we have a turn lane already implemented with the impact fees, or concurrency is created to create that turn lane. Maybe. But that's what you can negotiate in a pre-annexation agreement. You can say certain things will be in place, certain parameters will be met. We will work together in this way. You happen to be laying on a sword right now, because this is truly one of the first conversations we've had as this council on the ability to have pre-annexation agreements when annexations that are going to have this type of impact on already a pain point in our community. So I'm sorry for that.
Well, I mean, and I appreciate that, but I think that in this case, because annexation is in many ways mandatory, if we want water, then it kind of changes the situation a little bit. And I do think that I think the point of the prior planning director, who didn't really think an pre-annexation agreement was necessary for this application, I think his point was that there's only so much that you can do with a pre-annexation agreement, particularly when it's mandatory, because we can identify what we plan to do. You can't agree to any zoning. You can't condition. There are limitations on what you can do. I guess if there was an issue with Chapter 7 not being robust enough to address the mitigation at the time of development, because we're not proposing you to approve any development tonight. It's just the zoning, the potential for development. Nothing's being vested through this other than our ability to potentially develop within your permitted uses of your zoning district. The vested rights come later through the site plan, we can't vest any rights without concurrency. And since we know concurrency is a problem, that triggers that issue when we go through that process. And I would be honest with you, if I thought that there was a problem with your concurrency management system, then we would have been having very different conversations with staff about how to deal with those, because I couldn't stand up here and confidently say to you, look, you can shut us down, say no development. You can say development with the following conditions, but that's all there. And so you have that ability. I think the hard part is going to be identifying the improvements that can be done in the short term, and making sure that those developments are reasonably related to the impacts created by this property, right?
And that's my concern. So that's the concern right there, is what can we do in the short term when we know it's astronomically expensive to mill and pave. $7 million in that world doesn't go very far. It just doesn't. So it is the short term, and I feel like that maybe was a missed opportunity in this specific process to come to some type of agreement to that prior to approving all of these things in front of us. I get that it's mandatory, but you're also not going to be the last one that needs water. There's a whole section in that same little area that's going to be under the same scenario that you're standing here before us under. So all the FGUA discussions we've had. I mean, there's just so much. So anyways, I don't want to take up any more time on the issue. I think we've deliberated sufficiently to express our concerns, to let our residents know that we are on top of this, and that maybe with future annexations and things that come before us, we can perhaps get a little bit more ahead of things to talk about temporary improvements to relieve pressure in what we already know is a pain point. So,
and I don't want to
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry.
Go right ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump in here real quick. Listen, I hear the Vice Mayor's concerns really kind of so I'm looking at, what we're trying to do from a policy perspective, and understanding that this situation is the first one not the first one in the chute, but the one that's in front of us, and how we look for and being fair and consistent going forward, again, from a policy perspective. And I hear Councilman Miller's concerns with regards to, administrative review versus things being brought to the council. So I hear those concerns, and what I would offer is that as we look at these annexations going forward, especially when there are pain points with regards to traffic and other items, and really the consideration of impact fees and things of that nature from a policy perspective, and Mr. Mayor and Councilman Sullivan, you would appreciate this. As military commanders, we would often pull things up to our level for review, so that we can make sure the proper oversight is there on a variety of different issues. I would just ask this council to consider, when it comes to annexation issues, there's no administrative review on some of these matters, and that these important topics come to the council for review to ensure that these concerns are addressed going forward.
Thank you,
Over.
You got to finish your thought.
I just wanted to. There was one question that was asked, and I know the answer to it, about the land behind Airport Commons. That is owned by the county. There is a stormwater pond on it, and there's an easement that benefits Airport Commons to be able to drain into it. And I should have known that because I drafted the easement with Mr.
Well, that at least, because that's not going to cause traffic.
Yeah,
So that at least, that makes me feel a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
But I needed to ask Kim Buck, the engineer, because it's been so long since we did that. I didn't want to say anything wrong, and she knows that more intimately than I did because she designed it all. So I wrote the easement agreement, but it was just, I slapped her exhibits onto it, so all the details were in the work that she did.
Thank you, Jay.
I think, for me, I'm thinking economic development and jobs, which we are hurting on jobs in this community. And I think this, with the support of the developer, this could be a win-win for all of us and not just more strain on our community. So any more discussion? Can we get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the annexation of the property owned by Flagler Pines Property LLC. And I would offer that we retain the opportunity to provide oversight for approval versus administrative review. Over.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
I have a question I'll second for discussion, because I have a question.
Is this just item 5 or
First one.
The first one.
Yes.
I have to go through each.
That's a
okay.
condition of annexation. Is that permitted,
Yeah.
Mr. Duffy? That, his motion, the way it was made, is a condition of annexation. Is that permitted? To have the administrative view, even if not legally required, of
Come to the council.
Is that, I mean, that's
Not
state statute,
administrative.
right? For the administrative review.
I don't think.
I guess I was confused by it because it comes to you. You guys are the ones that make that
I think
decision.
there was a discussion, though, as to how big the actual, if it's just an out parcel, does just the out parcel have to come to us? I think that was.
But I think
City, not necessarily.
The applicant did share that they're planning on making the whole technical
Altogether,
site
so then it
plan
would,
altogether.
but they don't.
so that's relating to technical site plan. Right now, we're just talking about annexation. So those are two separate things.
No, I know, but that's my point. Is that a legally permissible motion?
I would keep it just to annexation. So I appreciate you.
I want to make sure. we
Okay.
don't
Okay.
challenge.
So I withdraw my motion and I moved to approve the voluntary annexation of the property owned by Flagler Pines LLC.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
We got a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. The council will open up for public comment. Yes, sir.
Chantal Proninger. I strongly oppose the annexation and rezoning as proposed. The problem is, if you accept it with all the density, they can come up back to you and say, we have an agreement and you have to let us build. So the reason why I think it's not a good idea is because that would increase from 327 dwellings. So if you have 2 or 3 cars per each dwelling, that would increase from 654 to 971 cars on the street. 204,615 gallons of water per day. 139,117 gallons a day of wastewater to process. And we already tight. The school impact, 174 more students. Okay, so altogether, it doesn't seem very profitable for us. So I live in the south of Palm Coast. Do you? Okay. When I try to get out of Belterre to 100, sometimes it takes us 3-4 cycles of the light to get through. That construction is not in a bubble. It doesn't mean that it's because it's a few streets away that it's not going to spread over the whole thing. So at some point, some of you talked about affordable housing. Well, I've been attending some of the planning committee, and they told me that affordable housing is not necessarily apartments. It can be houses. It's just that people who get them, nobody knows that those people don't pay as much as the others, but there's help, financial help for them. Doesn't mean apartments necessary. So we should not feel stuck because of that. And parallel road, I mean, what for? Those people, they go in a parallel road, and then they go out. They don't stay in that parallel road the whole day. It doesn't make any sense. The impact fee, let's talk about that. It's a one-time thing that the developer pays, but after that, we're stuck with the traffic. We live here. I really don't like that project at all, and I hope you will not change the annexation and rezoning. It's just not good for us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kent Seyfried with the law firm of Holtzman Vogel on behalf of Florida Landmark Communities, LLC, and Palm Coast Holdings, who y'all may recognize as the developer of the town center at Palm Coast Development of Regional Impact, DRI. My clients have great concerns with any and all annexations to the city until the utility capacity gets resolved. As you may know, with our DRI, we spent over $35.5 million in infrastructure improvements, roads, sewer, water, donating the property to the city in exchange for vested rights to develop the 1,500 acres within the DRI. We've spent that money. We cannot develop that property now because there is no sewer and water capacity in that. And as y'all may know, we've met with the city to try to resolve these issues, but unfortunately we have not been able to resolve these issues. Where did that $35 million go? I heard the gentleman speak earlier about another agreement where landowners paid in money to put this infrastructure in that's not there. Now, recently, we were in contracts to sell the property within the DRI that had vested rights, guaranteed rights to develop it, and supposedly sewer rights. Those buyers backed out of the deal after they met with the city, and the city said, you don't have guaranteed rights for sewer and water capacity. You don't have it. So they left the deal. So we've been damaged by that, and we will continue to be damaged until the sewer capacity and the water capacity reaches levels where our property can be sold and developed. We recently met again with the city to try to resolve these issues before we unfortunately had to file a lawsuit last week because of this breach of contract. And it was recognized that our property is worthless without wastewater and potable water. It's worthless. And that's a valuable property that we lost out on there. So, again, nothing personal to this landowner or coming in to annex into the city, but your ordinance states in the fourth whereas clause, whereas the city of Palm Coast, Florida is in a position to provide municipal services to the property described herein. I don't think that's an accurate statement. You can't provide municipal services to properties within the city already. You certainly can't provide it to properties outside the city. So there should be a moratorium on any kind of annexation until you get the utilities fixed and you provide the municipal services to the people within the city. So that's our position. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one else come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Any follow-ups from the council?
I think I was just going to mention to Ms. Chantel, the first part of your statement, questions, was I think directed at residential, and the proposal is not for residential. In fact, it has residential entitlements now within the county that they would be abandoning to have just commercial property. So any concerns with more houses is not part of this in any way.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
In writing the ordinance where it does, in the whereas clause that the gentleman brought up, was that analyzed by your team?
Yeah. So first of all, we're in your service area, so you have infrastructure available for us to tap into. Whether there's capacity at the plant is a separate issue related to the DEP permit, whether we can connect later. And we're all aware of that process from everything we've gone through in the last year. However, it should be noted, and we haven't gotten to presentations yet, but I put the new site plan. Remember I told you last time I used the old site plan because it still showed the cul-de-sac and not the connection. I included the new site plan in our application, and you can see that we have actually set aside a section of the frontage parcels or the potential need for a package plant if there is a capacity issue, so we will not be using city sewer if there is no capacity available. Now, this application is reducing the demand on those services, and you all we're already in your service area. You would have to serve us according to the water settlement agreement, regardless of whether we're annexed in or not.
I recall that actually went down. The need for the sewer went down.
Yes, it did. Yes, ma'am. It did go down. Yes. So we're reducing the demand, and if there is a capacity problem, I mean, a lot of planning has gone in. You guys have done an unbelievable amount of work to get us to the position of getting the CPH design contract in place, and hopefully bonds issued soon to expand the wastewater treatment plant 1. The ball's rolling on that. But if for some reason this particular economic development project gets held up by a capacity crunch at the treatment plant, we have a backup plan implemented into our site plan to be able to address that, to be able to carry us through the interim until capacity becomes available at the plant.
And that potential issue would come after you go to DEP, correct?
Yeah, we would apply, we would reach out to the city to find out if there's available capacity. If there's any concern that we're not going to get our secondary phase permit from the DEP, because right now it's an individual permit, so you apply for construction. It does not guarantee you connection. It just proves that the system meets standards for potable water and transmission of sewer. And then when you complete that, then you certify to the DEP that the project's complete, and then the DEP then can object to the connection if there is no available capacity. So by the time we get to this point, you all have been doing a lot. I've been tracking the numbers on a monthly basis from the DEP. The numbers have been holding in terms of, you had a bad month in September, so there was, I think, 7 million gallons per day average, but the actual 12-month rolling average is still below the permitted capacity. All the I&I work you all have been doing seems to be being very effective. The redirection of certain flows to treatment plant 2 seems to be doing its job. But developments are coming out of the ground, more capacity is being used, more toilets are being flushed. So when we get to the point of doing this, if we realize we may have a problem with connection, this developer doesn't want to hold up the project. They'll put that package plan in to bridge the gap, which will have no effect on town center's capacity or whatever issues that they're having.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect world. When do we think we're trying to break ground on this?
The engineer, she's a little bit more in tune with the design side and the timing of that, so I'm going to let her speak.
Good evening, Kimberly Buck with the Island Engineering Group, engineer for the project. We are hoping to break ground first quarter of next year.
Okay, and then how long would that project take for completion?
Close to a year.
Well,
We're talking 2028, though, based on our plans in terms of capacity.
Right.
Your plant will not be, your new improved plant won't be operational yet.
We need to go through the bond schedule, which is scheduled for January.
Okay.
And we wouldn't break ground until City Council has approved a technical site plan.
Mm. No, I was just, based on that presentation that we received, a while back about capacity and then bringing new systems online and where that kind of flex point is when we got our head back above water, so to speak, on that is right around that same time span. So it'll be close.
Any further?
And maybe the TPO can bring in some money by then.
Heard.
Any further discussion?
Mayor, I was going to mention that we have a couple utility openings, and Mr. Livingston has become a subject matter expert, so we might need to hire him.
Okay, with no further discussion, Ms. Cook, call the vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're moving on to item 6, ordinance 2025, future land use flume amendment for 38.8 plus acres from Flagler County commercial to high intensity and residential to high density to city of Palm Coast mixed use.
Mayor, this is the second time this item has been before you. It was heard on October the 21st. There have been no changes to the item since then. Staff is prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any follow-up questions? It's all centered around the same development. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, move approval of the
Motion.
amendment from Flagler County commercial to high intensity and residential for mixed use for this ordinance.
Second.
Got a second? Any further discussion?
The only thing I do want to point out is that the allowable dwelling units from the change we're making would go down, just to be very clear for the public's benefit.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Public comment? No one for public comment? Any further discussion on the dais? Ms. Cook, call the vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. We're moving on to item 7, ordinance 2025 zoning map amendment for 38.8 plus or minus acres from Flagler County General Commercial C2 and multifamily residential R-3B to City of Palm Coast General Commercial COM 2. Can we have a motion or any further discussion?
What? Ex parte communication.
Oh,
This is the
I'm
quasi
sorry,
judicial.
This one is ex parte. So anyone, please tell if you had any
I have
ex
nothing.
parte communication. None from Councilman
None.
Miller.
None.
Sullivan,
Nothing on my end, Mr. Mayor.
and nothing from me, Ms. Cook. So, okay. Any further discussion? Same item. No further discussion. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
At a second. Any further discussion, council? Public comment? No public comment coming forward. Bring it back to the dais. Ms. Cook, call the vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. We're moving on to item H, resolutions. We have none. Item I, consent. Anyone have any issues with the consent items on the agenda? You want to?
Mr. Mayor, move approval of the consent agenda.
We got a motion to approve.
Second.
We got a second. Anything generally from you, City Manager? Anything on these? Okay, we'll open this up for public discussion. Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Ms. Cook, call the vote. Or, I'm sorry, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. We're moving into our final public comment of the evening. We'll slot 30 minutes for this. Yes, Miss Chantel. It's our final public comments. Items not on the agenda.
What?
Items not on the agenda.
I didn't get that. Okay, I have an issue with council member Gambaro doing most of his council meetings remotely. I would like to see him sitting in his chair. What would that look like if you, Mayor, were online remotely talking to us and taking decisions? That's not serious. Okay, and something else. I have a friend whose house is supposed to be redone with Rebuild Florida, and the city permits are dragging. Why? Or how can she get things going? What does she do?
Thank you, ma'am. Is that it? Okay. Ms. Chantel, email the city manager, and she'll get her in touch with who she needs to talk to for permitting. Okay? Follow up with the city manager. That was it for public comment. What do we have? City council matters not on the agenda.
I'll bite. Just wanted to mention that we're talking, had the sheriff's 50 years of service today, so just wanted to say it again from the dais how appreciative we are of his service to our community and everything the sheriff's department does as well for us to keep us safe. And then the other thing I was going to mention is coming up, we don't have a meeting next week for Veterans Day, but we do have the parade as well as the Marine Corps birthday coming up. Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Captain Samuel Nicholas was commissioned in a bar and started recruiting right there. And that started the Marine Corps.
Candles?
What's that?
Going to have any problems with the number of candles on the cake?
Candles. 250. Dave, everybody's got to have a hero to look up to, so.
Anything else for any other council members?
Yes, I'll echo Councilman Miller's comments regarding the sheriff. It was a really great ceremony today, and I'm very thankful for the sheriff's office. We actually got to present him with a key to the city, so it was our honor to do that. Thank you, Councilman Sullivan and Councilman Miller, for being there today, and Chief Berryhill and also Acting City Manager. It was a great turnout. A lot of public officials, even from out of our county and city. Just a lot of appearances from people who really care about our sheriff and the sheriff's department and the work that they do. Looking forward to seeing everybody out at the Veterans Day Parade.
And what's the start time of that?
10.
Starts at 10? Okay. All right, the city offices will be closed on Veterans Day, just so everyone knows. You got anything, Councilman Sullivan?
Just same thing with the sheriff. I would like to say, in addition to what's been said, the sheriff was went to extremes to talk about the fact that both the county commission and the city council have been supportive, and the reason that building exists is because of the citizens here in Flagler and your representatives who worked with the sheriff. As you remember, there was a debacle about the old hospital being turned into the sheriff's office, if you remember back in those days. So this is really a culmination of that, and the sheriff went at great length to thank us.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gambaro, do you have anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just first and foremost, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there today for the sheriff's ceremony. Both him and I share a lot in common. We're both from Oviedo, Florida, from the same hometown, and we both, love our country and serve our community, and both ended up in Flagler County. So I'm so proud of Rick Staley as our sheriff, and we're very lucky to have him. And to Councilman Sullivan, to Councilman Miller, just remember the Marine Corps is younger than the U.S. Army, and to our mayor and I know to the vice mayor's family, we've got a lot to be thankful for and really recognize the contributions that all the veterans have provided. Look forward to celebrating all of our veterans that have made an impact and not just overseas, but what they've done when they've come home and just built upon their experiences just to make our country a better place. And just look forward to the celebration next week, and more importantly, just look forward, on the 13th to also hopefully as a council moving forward and selecting a new city manager and just moving forward, moving our city forward. But thanks for all the collaboration this evening, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One note, I don't know if everyone's seen, the legislature's probably going to do something on e-bikes. So we may have to amend or adjust our ordinance, maybe.
Tracking. We're good.
Lawyers tracking that. Congratulations to Sheriff Staley. 50 years. Wow. I think when I retired, I was just short of 25 years. And in ancient Rome, you spent 25 years in the military. You were a Rome citizen. So it's kind of a big deal. That's a big marker in someone's career. And I really appreciate what he does. He ain't got 50 more. I think he's got one term left.
He's going to run again.
Yeah, he said he's going to stick around. Anything from you, attorney?
Not attorney related, just I'll echo everyone else's comments. Happy early Veterans Day. To me, Veterans Day is always a family holiday because family counts in veterans. So everyone on this dais has an Air Force connection or a military connection. So I wish you guys all a very happy Veterans Day on Tuesday.
All right. City manager?
Yes, echo all of the comments. And as a reminder, city offices are closed on Tuesday for Veterans Day, but then we are here for the city manager interviews for the public session in the afternoon, and then the meet and greet that follows. So looking forward to that on Thursday next week. And that concludes, Mayor.
Thank you. And I'll mention my church, Shepherd of the Coast Lutheran on Pine Lakes. We do a Veterans Day ceremony every year, and Sheriff Staley is there every year with his flag detail, and our pastor does a cleansing of public servants, veterans, and active duty militaries. If you want to come out and join me at my church for Veterans Day, and that's 11 o'clock on Sunday. Anything else for the group?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
did it on, I did it on daylight saving time.